Welcome, my name is Michelle Dutrissa and I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up in New South Wales, Australia. Now the other day we had a look at the Stamparatus and what the Stamparatus could do for you. So today I thought what we would do is we'd make a card using the Stamparatus. Now I've got a card here that I've prepared and I'm going to show you how you can make this card using the Stamparatus and using the ability to position all your stamps and stamp multiple cards. I'm going to stamp 4 of these cards today using this wonderful tool. So let's get started. So to start with, I'm going to start by stamping the pine cones. Now there's quite a few colours in this, and just to show you all the colours that I am using, I'm using Early Espresso and Cinnamon Cider for my pine cones. I've got Real Red for my sentiment and for my berries. And then my leaves are made up of Garden Green, Old Olive, Pear Pizzazz and Soft Succulent. I've pre-cut my cardstock, and my cardstock sizes are, I've got Old Olive card base, which is 10.5 centimetres by 29.9 centimetres, scored at 14.9 centimetres. I also have some Real Red cardstock here, which I've cut at 10 centimetres by 14.4 centimetres. So that's for all our card bases and our mats. I've pre-cut all my basic white cardstock, and I've just cut my cardstock at this time down to 1/4 sheet. So at the moment it's 10.5 centimetres by 14.9. It is too big, but we will cut it down after we've finished our stamping. The other thing that I've done, because I wanted to show you how you could stamp using blanks. So what I've done is I've pre-cut all my pine cones just out in my basic white, and by pre-cutting it I can get as many as I can out of a smaller piece of basic white cardstock. So here I've just used 1/4 of the sheet, and I've cut out 4 of each one. So for 4 cards. I've also just cut myself a template with the dies, and I've just cut it a smaller piece here, which is about 5 centimetres by my 14.4 centimetres, and we're going to use this to position our blanks in for come to stamping. So we're going to do that now. So I'll just pop all that to one side, and we're just going to open up our Stamparatus. Now we are using a photopolymer stamp, so I do have my mat down for my photopolymer stamp, and I've got a piece of the scratch paper on top. So I'm going to position my template there, and I've got one of my magnets there to hold that down. Now what I've already done is I've actually layered these, the first part of the stamps, because this is a 2-step stamp. So I've layered both my large and my smaller pine cone inside that die cut area and positioned it onto my plate here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to grab a blank. So this is for the large one, and we're going to pop that into that space there, and we're going to pop the smaller one in there. Now the first off, I'm going to stamp using the cinnamon cider. So we're going to ink up each of our stamps, not worrying if I get a little bit of extra ink onto my plate because it won't damage anything, and we're going to press down. Now you can here use your tool, which is this here that I showed the other day, and just give that a good rub to make sure we've got a good adhesion. Take that off, and there's our stamped area. Unfortunately this one has moved, this one is okay. So we're going to pop them to one side. So we may just need to do another one for that one. I'm going to keep going. So just making sure that I've got this still in position. I'll pop another one of those in there. Pop another blank in there. And this time I'm just going to add, because I didn't add this, but I'm just going to add my stamp box underneath here, just to give me a nice flat surface for my ink pad. Stamp that up, ink that up. Just make sure we've got those in, and stamp again. Just use our chucky there just to wipe that down, give it some pressure, and remove. And we can just keep on going until we've got the number that we want. Now this is just a really good way of just quickly making up our pine cones. But you could do this with any of your stamps that you're wanting to work on multiple times. So we're up to our third one now. Pop that into there. Now, as I said, this is a two-step stamp. So we do have to now, once we've finished these, is go back and re-stamp again on the top with a different colour. Whoops, that one doesn't want to come out. There we go. Now don't worry if your photopolymer does stain a little. Anything with a red base will stain your photopolymer stamps, but if you've cleaned them well, then that ink won't transfer to whatever you might be wanting to do later on. So now I'm going to remove these two stamps. I could just flip my plate over and use the other side, but I just do want to be able to see through it, and I'm going to pop in one of my blanks that I've already stamped back into there, that one into there, and then we're going to take our other stamp, line it up on top, and sometimes you do have to sort of be looking over the top of what you have worked on, and I'm not quite working over the top of it, so I am just eyeing these and just lining these up carefully. Just double check that one. Okay, close our door. So open this up again. Just pop these back into there. This time we're going to ink up with our early espresso. Now I'm just going to grab my other magnet here, because the top of this is just wanting to lift a little, and I'm just going to pop the other magnet up there, just making sure they're not getting too close to each other, and we'll just keep going. When you first use your photopolymer stamps, you will find they are a little bit sticky and will tend to stick to your cardstock a bit more. But once you start using them and cleaning them and reusing them again, you'll find that stickiness will tend to go. Also with photopolymer stamps, if you're using them a lot, they will collect a certain amount of dust and probably grease from our fingers and everything on them, and they will lose their stickiness to adhere to either your blocks or to your plate here. And you can just easily wash them with a little bit of detergent and let them air dry, and they will regain their stickiness. There you go. So there's all our pine cones all done. So we'll clean this off and we'll go on to the next part of our card. So I'm now finished with that template. I'm going to remove that, keep those apart. And we're finished with that little template piece there. So I'll just pop that to one side, and we're finished with this plate. So I'll just pop this somewhere, just over there will do, until we can clean that up. Now the next part I want to stamp on this is our sentiment. And our sentiment with this stamp set, because the stamp set that I'm using is out of our mini catalogue. Just let me grab it for you and I can show it to you. It's called Painted Christmas. It's a Painted Christmas suite, and this whole suite altogether comes to $244.75. It's on page 16 of our mini catalogue, and you've got 2 stamp sets with it and 2 lots of dies, as well as lovely designer series paper, which we're not using today, and some ribbon, which we're not using today, but we are going to use these gold riddle leaves. So we are using a good variety of colours here today in this, and this is a lovely suite, and I've really had fun today playing with this. So now we're going to add our sentiment. Now the stamp sets, the pine cone and the leaves are all done in photopolymer, but they've done their sentiments using the red rubber. So we're going to, for the time being, just remove our mat that we have for the photopolymer, and even though I've got everything all set up here with the photopolymer stamps, I'm just going to use the red rubber stamp here, and we're going to use Real Red to stamp our sentiment. So I'm going to grab some basic white cardstock, pop it right into that corner, put a magnet down there, and all I'm going to do is just ink up the sentiment. So I've already positioned where I wanted the sentiment to go on this card. So we're going to ink that up there and press down. And then we're just going to take that one out and replace it with another one. So we're going to do 4 cards. So we're going to ink that up again. And keep going. So you can see how quickly, if you've got to do a large number of cards, how quickly this all works by doing it this way. I don't have to be lining up to make everything all exactly the same, because I've already done that. And here's number 4. Now I must say, these magnets, because I've taken away that foam mat, these magnets are very, very tight on the Stamparatus. Okay, so there's the last of our sentiments for that card. So I am going to remove this stamp from here because it will interfere with the rest of our cards that we're going to, or the rest of our stamping we're going to be doing. So I'll just pop that up there. So now we're going to start on this card with building up our background stamping. So I've got my stamp here, but then remember these are photopolymer stamps, so I do need to pop back in my foam mat. Make sure that's still nice in the corner. And I'm going to start off with Soft Succulent. So I've already spent some time this morning designing this card and positioning where I want everything to go on my plates. So that's where your initial time will be happening, is when you do your first stamping and you're trying to work out. Now I am using probably more stamps than normal, because I have got 4 different colorways happening here in my greens. So you know, it may not take you this much time if you're using less colors, less stamps, but I just thought I would show you, you know, what you can do, what you can create using this technique with your Stamparatus. So, whoops, I do have to move my plate. So this one here, I've actually attached it so my plate will come down from the top and stamp. Good thing I checked that one before I closed the door. So we're going to remove that one, pop in our next one, pop our magnet on top, ink up those 2 stamps, stamp on there. Now I have got a bit of ink there, but that's okay because it's not going to touch my cardstock. Pop the next one in position. Add some more ink. Stamp. One more. Pop that into there. So once you've worked out exactly what you're doing when you design your card, then it is really easy after that. Okay, so there's our 4 there. So let's just clean our stamps down. Make sure we just get all that ink off there. Chamois works really well for this because you can fold it in half or even cut it down to a smaller piece to really get in there and clean those stamps off. And now we're going to change our plates to our next plate, and the next one I'm going to do is going to be this plate here. So let me just grab my card fronts out of the road. We've now finished with our Soft Succulent. So we can pop that one out of the road. And the next colour we're going to use is Pear Pizzazz. So as I said, I am using a lot of colours in this. I'm going to grab my next card front. I'm going to pop that magnet up there. Make sure that that doesn't interfere. It does a little bit. That's all perfectly fine there. Ink up my stamps. So I found it was much easier doing 2 stamps at once for this card. Stamp down. Now I can't use my Chucky here because I do have the other stamps on the other side of this plate, because as I said the other day, you can use this plate 4 times. Like, so you've got 2 sides. You've got 2 plates that come with your Stamparatus, and you can use it. You've got 2 sides on each plate, so you can use it, you know, put 4 layers of stamping. So we're going to ink this up again. Got the next one down. Stamp, just make sure I'm getting good coverage there. Take that one out. Pop the next one down. Last one. Okay, so now we're finished with our Pear Pizzazz, and we'll just pop that one over there. Clean our sheet down, get rid of that excess ink we don't need anymore. Now you can clean your plates when you're finished with them, after you're taking your stamps and everything off. You know, just wash them with some water, because all the inks and everything we're using are all water based. So after I've finished making these cards, I will take them and just give them a really good clean. Don't use anything too abrasive on these plates. You don't want to scratch them up too much. So but a bit of water and a little bit of soap won't hurt them. So the next colour we're going to be using is Old Olive, and we're going to stamp the next layer of stamps on top. Now all these stamps are they're photopolymer, yes, but they're all a distinctive type stamp, so they do have texture and layers in them that have been designed or etched into the stamp themselves. And this particular stamp here is a 2-layer stamp, so I stamped the first one in the Pear Pizzazz, and then the second layer on top, which just gives you a little bit extra highlights here, are in the Old Olive. I just want to clean that magnet down, because I'm getting a little bit of ink on that, and I don't really want to get that on my hands. I might just give that a little bit more of a press in there. Okay. Ink this one up. Thought I had that out of the road, but I didn't quite. And we're up to our last one. Okay, clean this down again. And we're going to change our plates again. This time we're going to bring in our last one. And that is with our holly. And this time we're going to be using our garden green for our holly. Now I think I will just remove these stamps that I had on the back of this, because it is just interfering with the opening and closing of this door. So we've got our garden green here. We're going to ink that up. Stamp down. Okay, now I've removed that, I can actually use that Chucky just to help push that down nicely. One. So we're looking a little bit messy at the moment. By the time we're finished, this will look actually really good. And our last one. And that's all our stamping we're going to do with our Stamparatus. So I'm just going to pop those two magnets underneath away. So let me just pop this one away first, just so we don't lose them or they don't contact anything else, because your dies and everything will be attracted to them. Give that stamp a good clean. And as I said, I will come back later on and just fully clean those plates by putting them under some water and a little bit of soap just to clean all of that down. Okay, so we now can put our Stamparatus away and let's get our cards finished. So I've still got a little bit of stamping to do, and this is going to be in the real red. And we're going to stamp some berries onto our cards, and just using just a normal acrylic block, because I do want to do 3 sets of these. So we're going to pop one just in there. Another set coming just there. And another one just in there. Now I am keeping this fairly tight because I do still have to trim some of this card stock away. So now I'm going to bring in my trimmer so we can trim down these card fronts. So I am going to trim a little bit off the top. So I want these to be 14.1 in height. And I'm trimming a bit off one side just to take that down to 9.7. Okay, so they're all now trimmed down. So let's bring in our mats in our real red, and we can start adhering these to our mats. So I'm using multi-purpose glue here because it does allow me to have a little bit of slip to get this into the position where I want it. That's that. Now we need our card bases, which is in the old olive. As I said, they're 10.5 centimeters by 14.9. I'm just going to bring in my bone folder. And I've already scored and everything this one, so all I need to do now is just using my bone folder, just burnish all those score lines. Pop this onto the front of our card base. Again, I'm just using the multi-purpose glue because I can just slide that into position. Now I haven't done it this time, but you could also make an insert piece from your basic white to pop on the inside of your card, and you could do a little bit of stamping on that too if you wished, but for today I haven't done that. Okay, so I'm happy with all of those, so let's finish decorating our cards because we need to add our pine cones. So what we're going to do is grab our little pine cone. I'm going to put a little bit of multi-purpose glue on the back, position that at a slight angle. As you can see, it's starting to hide a little bit of the messiness in the center of our card, which is what we want. We're going to grab our large pine cones, put a couple of dimensionals on the back. Now with this suite as well, we have some of these lovely little gold leaves, and there are a couple of different sizes of leaves in here. So you have a large one and there is a small one as well. So what I'm going to do is going to grab some glue dots. I'm going to add a glue dot to the back of that. Pop that one, just coming out from underneath that pine cone. Another little glue dot on that one. Have him coming out from there as well. One coming out from down here. So that's one card completed. And there you are. So let's pop all these away so we don't have them going flying everywhere. So there you go. Using the Stamparatus, we have made 4 cards. So I hope you've enjoyed that today and learning a little bit more how you can use your Stamparatus. And over the next few weeks, I'll show you some more techniques of what you can do with your Stamparatus. Thank you very much for joining me today. Bye for now.